Yeah, I think shorter term, robust rally, like you said, 6,100 to 62 by the end of the year.
Okay.
And then from there, I'm thinking next year, low end 6,600, high end 7,700. And the reason being, trend. Nothing wrong. Higher highs, higher lows. It's very textbook. Every time I've come on, I'm like, the moving averages are in the right direction, higher than, and it's a sloping positive, no discernible top pattern. So I have to give the trend a benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, the market isn't making any obvious missteps in that regard, I guess. Now, it has been a lot of sort of rotation or maybe some, leadership shifts, at least subtly speaking. Where does that kind of play out right now in terms of we've trying to decide if semis are broken and whether, in fact, it's going to be cyclicals over tech?
Totally. There's a lot of nuances there. I mean, you got an hour to talk about these parts here. So I would say, first and foremost, like, why hasn't high beta just ripped, right? Why hasn't low quality just taken off, right? This market doesn't necessarily have those animal spirits that they did in 2016. I think a lot of it has to do with, well, the equity market's much more mature than it was then. The economy's a lot different, and we also have a fiscal issue as well, right? So how do we position it? I think we're going to be a little bit more risk averse on this leg of the market higher. I don't necessarily think that into next year it's going to be like the most robust, I'd say, speculative move. But I think we can continue to grind higher. Leadership should still continue to be within the financial space. But a good point on the semis. I think tomorrow's a big day when it comes to NVIDIA, for sure.
In terms of being able to, rescue the trend?
Yeah, rescue the trend. So first, rescue the stock, right? The stock broke out early this month, right? Again, above that 140 level. It was about a 4-month consolidation, right? That should project it much higher. So now you have earnings, and technical things happen for fundamental reasons. So we have to have earnings to confirm this breakout. Number two is, if you take a look at the SMH index itself, and you look at it since March, you have a bit of a head and shoulders top. And I think folks are going to be looking at it and be like, wait, NVIDIA looks one way, Taiwan Semi looks like NVIDIA, but the rest of the semis don't look like them. They actually have been quite weak. So tomorrow will be an important day. I think you've said this before. The market likes shiny things to play with, and it needs that. And I think tomorrow could be a huge catalyst to get us going to the end of the year.
Now, to your point that, the risk appetites maybe have not been fully unleashed, and maybe you don't expect it to be a very speculative market. I mean, maybe crypto is hogging all that energy because, that's been an undeniable move, and it's like strength upon strength and getting strength. So where do you see that headed?
I love Bitcoin, a big bull on it. My longer-term count is somewhere around the 200,000 area, maybe even 240. Hope I don't jinx it by saying that, but it's quite remarkable, its trend in itself. And how I get there is a couple different ways. If this year was just a consolidation of 2023's massive rally, from a measured move perspective, that gets you to about 200. The last 3 years in itself was a consolidation in itself, so it's like a base upon a base, and that even gets you up to like the 300s area. So the trend is undeniably strong within the Bitcoin. I want to side on there, and perhaps that will be where we get the speculative excess, but it's also what's fueling a lot of the software stocks as well. They're actually been quite strong and taking the relative strength baton from semis because of this particular breakout.
You think that it's feeding off of the actual crypto move, or it's just sort of they seem to be moving in sympathy?
I gotta be careful how I say it. Yeah, it's in sympathy, but also a lot of the software names in there, like the Mars of the world, they're in the ARC, right?
Right.
So let's take a step back, right? Let's think about ARC. ARC's been a big base for the last 2.5, 3 years. Big bases.
ARC Innovation Fund.
ARC Innovation, higher into space it goes, right? So that kind of makes me very encouraged about next year when I see those types of bases. Tie that into the old Bitcoin. Yeah, I think you can continue to see.
I keep pointing out that the 4-year charts are like crazy on so many of these things, right? This sort of like mountain down to the.
But it's important to put into
perspective. And now it's kind of building.
Right, and it's important to put those into perspective, right? We always get short-termitis, right? But if you take a step back and you're like, wait, this breakout we're having in Bitcoin is just a little blip on a 4-year chart. It could actually project quite a bit higher.
Still early, though. I think the median institutional ownership of blockchain is 0. Most institutions have 0 exposure. And even the ones that are really progressive, really been working on it, have 1 or 2% of their allocation to blockchain. So I think we still have a couple more decades to go.
You've put that 95% of financial wealth has no investments in blockchain whatsoever.
They have no material investments. Some people have 20 basis points, 30 basis points, but ultimately I think it'll be an asset class with 8% investment.
So you would date the regulatory headwinds, you would say that goes back 15 years, basically. And now it's actually, are they tailwinds now?
I think so. I think most people in the industry just want clarity. They want rules written down. so they can follow them. And it seems like the president-elect has a much more direct approach to promoting regulatory clarity. And if you think about it, the U.S. was very instrumental in making the internet happen in the United States. The U.S. government built the internet and then provided all kinds of regulatory safe harbors. And all the largest internet companies in the free world are in the U.S. In blockchain, it's the polar opposite. 93% of protocols are based, 93% of the market cap is based outside the United States. It'd be great to have that flow back.
And you called Trump the first pro-blockchain U.S. president in office.
True.
Really?
Yeah, he bought cheeseburgers with Bitcoins. First time a head of state of the United States has done that.
You have heard about a possible strategic reserve. You think that that's a possibility or a probability?
I think there are two versions of that. One is the president-elect has said that he will not sell the Bitcoins the U.S. already owns. The United States already owns 1% of the world's Bitcoins. That seems easier to do than getting passage to buy additional Bitcoins. But I think it's a great strategy. The U.S. is the reserve currency of the world, so we don't have another currency to save our reserves in. So saving in Bitcoin would be a great strategic move.
Did this come easy for you? I mean, were you a baby cub? Were you a cub, a tiger cub?
Tiger cub.
And suddenly you're a crypto maven. Was it hard initially? Or so many people still resist. They still think it's Beanie Babies.
No, and that's why I'm still so bullish, that so many people are still so skeptical. And I was looking back at my notes. In 2016, I did 170 investor meetings all around the world trying to raise money for Bitcoin and crypto. We raised $1 million.
Oh, man.
What did you read that convinced you? Because I watch people on our air, people that work for this company, saying there's no reason to believe that it's any store of value. And it's funny, they come up with the same old argument that it's not backed by anything. Yeah. As if anything that has been used for money, once we got off the gold standard, nothing's backed by anything. It's money. That's a characteristic of money. It's
used backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government.
Not really. Not when you can issue as many as you want. It's not backed by any. It's paper. It's fiat. It's much less. Money itself for 4,000 years has represented. There's certain characteristics that Bitcoin has 6 of them. Does it not? Is it even better than gold?
Yeah, no, it's better than gold, paper money, Visa, MasterCard, all of these things. And that's why it's such a great trade. But the intrinsic value stories, is, if you think about it, the intrinsic value of a Jackson Pollock is $40. But Jackson Pollock paintings have an 80-year track record of appreciating.
Well, now you sound like greater fool theory.
No.
But with blockchain, because we know all the reasons. We've heard all the reasons why it is, because it's decentralized and it's a distributed ledger and it can't be double counted. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it's, there's a tangible amount, can't be destroyed. Can it be destroyed? What if you unplug the computer?
No, everyone has a copy of it. They just go on and keep doing it.
Every single person that's ever bought a Bitcoin.
That's tricky. Some people have done that. Probably 10 or 15% of all Bitcoins have been lost. Actually, probably more. It was 13% a few years ago. But that argument is all about expected value. I wouldn't bet my entire life savings that Bitcoin's going to go up, but it's been averaging almost doubling every year for 11 years. What if it does it one more year, right?
Would you bet your life it's not going to zero?
I used to tell people it could definitely go to zero to try and be, conservative. I don't think it's possible now. 50 million people in the U.S. own it, 300 million people globally. BlackRock and Fidelity are selling it. It really has reached escape velocity.
But you're 745,000. I mean, I heard 13 million from my